Well, it's time for Just the News. So this is a quick wrap of everything that's happened in the country that we can fit into 10 minutes. Remember, there's no opinion, there's no noise, there's no outrage. This is just what happened today. Let's get started. It's the 19th of March. To begin with, Maharashtra and Mumbai are now reporting extremely worrying COVID numbers. Now, the state of Maharashtra and Mumbai have recorded their highest ever daily spike in cases as reported today. Now, I want to make this really clear. All through last year, when we were locked down, sanitizing everything that was coming into our houses, all through last year, the numbers were not as bad as they are right now in Mumbai and in Maharashtra. Maharashtra recorded 25,681 cases, I beg your pardon. Mumbai recorded 3,062 cases. Now, the last time the numbers were remotely in this ballpark in Maharashtra was in October last year, when we recorded about 24,000 cases. Now we're recording 25,000 cases per day. So this is really worrying. There's a small silver lining here. The case fatality seems to be a little lower. Mumbai has recorded 10 deaths in the last 24 hours. The Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray on Friday said that the lockdown would be an option right now, given the pace at which these cases are actually surging. The state government has issued stricter guidelines until the 31st of March. Theatres and auditoriums can only operate at 50% capacity. No entry will be allowed without masks. All private offices will function at 50% capacity as well. The BMC, which is Mumbai's civic body, has said that a COVID negative test report will now be necessary before anyone is allowed to enter a mall. They also said that all malls will have to have rapid antigen test facilities available at the mall to collect samples. These tests will also be conducted at other crowded places like railway stations, bus stops and markets. States like Punjab, Karnataka, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh and Haryana are also recording a spike in cases, suggesting that we are now in phase 2 or a second wave of infections in the country. In Punjab, Chief Minister Amrinder Singh has ordered fresh statewide restrictions that will be implemented starting Saturday. All educational institutions will stay closed except for nursing colleges and medical colleges until the 31st of the month. Cinema halls will run at 50% capacity and no more than 100 people will be allowed in a mall at any time. The Chief Minister has also asked the people of Punjab not to entertain more than 10 guests at a time. In Lok Sabha, the government has said that there is no need to check the composition or to change the composition of the Covaxin vaccine. Now, this is the Bharat Biotech and ICMR vaccine. The government has said it has very good efficacy against all of the mutant variants of COVID as well. Now, there are 4 mutant variants that have been tested to be present in India. 2 from the UK, 1 from South Africa and 1 Brazilian variant. Giving details to Parliament about the efficacy rate of Covaxin and Covishield, the Minister of State for Health, Ashwini Choube, has said there's no significant difference noted in the efficacy of Bharat Biotech's Covaxin against the UK and the Brazilian strains. He said as far as the analysis of this vaccine against the South African strain is concerned, that's ongoing and has not been established yet. Well, in news outside of COVID and our continued battle with COVID is our continued battle with hunger. The Union Minister for State for Agriculture, Purushottam Rupala, questioned the methodology and data accuracy of the Global Hunger Index report, which has placed India at number 94 out of 107 countries in 2020. Now, the minister was responding to a question from Aam Aadmi Party's Sanjay Singh in Rajya Sabha. Mr. Sanjay Singh had asked why India is ranked below countries like Nepal, Bangladesh and Myanmar in hunger when we are among the top 10 food producing countries in the world. Now, in response, the Union Minister for State has said that some NGOs in the world have done this survey. We've asked them on what basis they reached the conclusion. They have not replied yet. He also said that in our country, when a street dog gives birth, women provide them with sheera. So in a country where such a tradition exists, an NGO comes and releases a report about our children, we should not be sensitive about such reports. End quote. It appears that from this quote, the minister suggests that street dogs don't go hungry or stray dogs don't go hungry in our country. How can a report say that children are going hungry in our country? We must remember that India's performance on the Global Hunger Index has actually dropped over the last 10 years, but has improved marginally in the last 1 year to the 94th rank. So we're country number 94 when it comes to hunger in the world. In other news, the Indian Commercial Pilots Association has written to the Air India's chairman saying that the prohibition of the use of social media, basically the employees of the airline have been told not to post on social media. The association believes this is illegal and violates their fundamental rights. This comes after Air India issued a letter to all its serving as well as its retired employees regarding using social media and digital platforms. Now, in its policy, Air India has advised its employees to refrain from posting any personal views that contradict the organization's message on policy matters related to the aviation sector on social media. In a letter to the airline's chairman and MD, the association has said, at the outset, we note with alarm this new policy introduced by Air India as it's entirely illegal and has no basis in the law whatsoever. Ahead of the first official meeting from the Biden administration, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd J. Austin has arrived in India today. On his 3-day visit, Austin will meet Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval to discuss China and other important regional security issues, including Afghanistan. China's aggression in Ladakh, terrorism in the region, and steps to further cement India and U.S. defense ties are likely to be top of the agenda. The American Defense Secretary is also expected to meet with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar. Now, interesting to note at this point, ahead of this visit, US Senator Bob Menendez wrote to Austin saying that he should raise the issue of India's purchase of S-400 Russian missiles. He's also raised concerns about India, saying he would like to see India-US partnership grow, but we must acknowledge that the partnership is strongest when based on shared democratic values, and the Indian government has been trending away from these values. Now, this is quoting US Senator Bob Menendez, who has written to the Secretary of Defense before his visit to India. There's been an update in the Zomato row. The influencer in question is Hitesha Chandrani, who accused a delivery personnel of assaulting her, has released a 3-page statement saying she's worried about her safety. She's also detailed how she's been subject to mass threats, harassment, and abuse. In her statement, she says that she lives by herself in the city, and over the last few days, she has actually been very worried about her safety because of the abuse and harassment she has faced. Remember, the Bangalore police now has recorded 2 FIRs with connection to the same altercation that broke out between 2 individuals, the influencer who alleged the Zomato delivery person had assaulted her, and the delivery person who has in turn said he was assaulted by Ms. Chandrani. Also, an update right now on the entire question about ripped jeans. Remember how we talked about hungry children in our country earlier, but somehow this is something that's popping up in the news a lot. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Tirat Rawat's remark about the fact that women who wear ripped jeans are setting a bad example for their children and moving away from Indian culture. His wife has now come out and defended his statement and has basically said that his words were not presented in full context. Now, the Chief Minister's wife, Professor Rashmi Tyagi, has said, and I quote, "He was talking about us aping Western culture blindly and not following our own traditions and values, which are seeped in thousands of years of cultural context and wisdom. His one word was picked up and blown out of context," she said, "and wrongly interpreted. He spoke for nearly 1 hour, but nobody talks about the whole theme he was trying to focus on," end quote. But in an interview to Aaj Tak, Tirat Rawat was quoted saying that he doesn't mind women wearing jeans, but he still has a problem with ripped and torn jeans. Moving on. The Punjab Chief Minister Amrinder Singh has spoken with the Punjab Director General of Police to ensure a speedy investigation into a horrific incident that occurred in the Moga district of Punjab. Now, I want to just caution our viewers that some of these details are distressing. 2 women were shot point blank and left to die on the side of the street in the Moga district. These women were apparently sitting in a car along with accused Gurveer Singh when he allegedly pushed one woman out of the car while the other one tried to escape from the vehicle. He fired at both of them with his revolver. The passerbys apparently attempted to rush these 2 women to the hospital, but they succumbed to their injuries. The motive for this double murder has not been determined by the police, and the police have not yet arrested the accused either. In a tweet, the Punjab Chief Minister has now said such offenders will be sternly dealt with. Also, an update right now on the brewing case of Sachin, Vaze and the explosives left outside the Ambani residence in Mumbai. According to reports now, the NIA has established that Sachin Vaze met with deceased Mansukh Hiren on the 17th of February, just days before the SUV was found outside of the Ambani residence. Mansukh Hiren claimed on the 17th of February that his car was stolen, and he filed a complaint that the car was missing on the 18th of February. It now turns out that the Maharashtra Anti-Terror Squad has recovered a CCTV video which shows that Sachin Vaze was with Mansukh Hiren sitting inside a Mercedes car outside the CST station in Mumbai the day the car was reportedly stolen. On the 25th of February, that same car, which was reportedly stolen, was found with explosives outside the Ambani residence. And of course, on the 5th of March, Mansukh Hiren's body was recovered from a creek in Mumbai. Meanwhile, the anti-terror squad in Maharashtra has asked for custody of Assistant Police Inspector Sachin Vaze in connection with Mansukh Hiren's case of murder. Now, there are 2 cases running parallelly. One is the case of the explosives, which has been transferred to the NIA, which is a central investigating agency, and the case of the death of Mansukh Hiren is being investigated by the anti-terror squad. Currently, Sachin Vaze is in the NIA's custody, and the ATS has requested his custody as well. Let's take a look at news from the world of business at this point. Moody's Analytics has projected that India's GDP is likely to grow at 12% in 2021 after degrowth or contraction of about 7% in 2020. It also said that a stronger than expected December quarter of GDP growth at 0.4%, following the 7.5% contraction in the previous 3 months, has turned around India's near-term prospects. So basically, we've actually had an economy that has shrunk in 2021 by 7%, but they're expecting it to grow by 12% in this financial year, which is good news. Also, according to Bloomberg, India's rupee is the only currency in Asia that has become stronger in the last 1 month when all other currencies have weakened. This has come after there were several share offers made bringing in foreign investors into India. Of course, when foreign investors come in to buy a lot, they bring in dollars, and that strengthens the rupee. According to MK Global Financials, the rupee has grown by 1.3% in March, boosted, of course, by overseas purchase of local stocks. Let's take a look at international news very quickly. Several European countries, including Germany and France, have said they will begin they will resume the rollout of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID vaccine after the European Medicines Agency has said that the vaccine is safe and effective. Other countries had also suspended this vaccine, are expected to now pick it up. Spain has said it's evaluating a possible resumption, while Cyprus, Latvia and Lithuania have begun administering the vaccine as well. Remember, many countries, about 20 countries in Europe, had suspended the vaccine because of reports of blood clots. They have now said that that vaccine is safe. Meanwhile, France has announced a month-long lockdown in Paris and other regions starting Friday midnight. This comes after the country reported 35,000 new cases in the last 24 hours. Apparently, this is their 3rd wave at this point. The lockdown, though, is not as strict as the previous lockdowns. Non-essential businesses will be shut down, but schools will remain open. People are allowed to exercise outdoors within a 10-kilometer radius of their homes. In other news, Facebook is now apparently working on a version of Instagram for its users under the age of 13. The head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, has said that this version of a photo sharing app will be explored for children, because children have been asking their parents if they can be allowed onto Instagram to keep up with their friends, and a version of Instagram where parental control will be available and a messenger will be made available to kids is something that Facebook is currently working on. In the All England Championships of Badminton, good news there, PV Sindhu has defeated Denmark's Line Kristoffersen to reach the quarterfinals of the All England Championships 2021. This is the second successive quarterfinal appearance for Sindhu at the All England Open. She will now face off against the Japanese player Akane Yamaguchi. All right, leaving you with a little tidbit of some positive news. With an aim to reduce waste from our kitchens, IKEA has released a cookbook for scraps. It's called the Scraps Cookbook. This is in collaboration with 10 chefs across the world. It has 50 recipes on what you can do with banana peels and the leaves growing out of the tops of your radish and carrots and potato peels, and different ways to reuse them so that you don't create kitchen waste. In fact, you will find a PDF of that book in the description of this video. That brings us to an end of our news. But remember, taking in your feedback, as of today, we've also included chapter-wise descriptions in our, in the description of this video. Plus, we've included the source links of all of the stories that we've done. So if you want to read up on any of them a little more, and you want more information on these stories than we can fit into 10 minutes, go ahead and take a look at it. Thank you for watching. Good night.